Mind the culture gap, y'all. Hey, y'all, what's up? It's like a floating head I had to adjust. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody is well and settled down for the evening. Settling down for the evening, I guess. Welcome to The Next Show Will Be Better. It's not The Next Show Will Be Better anymore. It's Mind the Culture Gap, y'all. It's the Hickson Diaries live stream podcast. Just getting together, talking about my life as an American living here in the UK. Any questions, comments, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you send them in the chat, and I will definitely get to them as best as I can throughout the show. Today, we're going to respond to some of your comments. That's usually the format of the show. We're going to pull some comments from recent videos about the biggest lie that I figured out living here in the UK. And we are also, later on for the members, we're going to do a reaction to, what are we reacting to? The funniest posts that perfectly illustrate British humor. That is going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to that. But it is for members only. So if you're not a member, make sure you click that join button to become a member. That'll be later on in the show, though. First, I do have to start with something a little bit solemn, and I do apologize in advance, but I have to acknowledge it. I found out right before we went live that Miss Dolly Parton has died at the age of 80. It's bummed me out. I'm not gonna lie. She's just a great lady. From what I could tell, obviously, I've never met her personally, and I'm going off of, all the vibes that I've gotten from her interviews and stuff. But she in my eyes epitomizes like what I think of as like a legend, because not only was she highly influential in the country music world, where she started as a country music singer, for those of you who don't know, she broke a bunch of barriers there. She did a bunch of things that, were paved the way for a lot of people that in that industry and that genre today enjoy the privileges and stuff, that they enjoy now, were partly because of her barrier breaking. But also she was one of the original crossovers, where she crossed over into like pop music and stuff. And a lot of her stuff was very well received by the general public, and not just like the country and Western public. At that time in the United States, it was not as common to do that kind of crossover, especially for country music stars. But then she also crossed over into television and movies. She's a true entrepreneur, and she was doing all of that stuff well before it was popular and well before a lot of artists did it. She was also just a beautiful soul from what I could see. Just a really incredible human being. I personally know her best as the actress, because I'm not a huge fan of country music, but although I will credit her for getting me a little bit into country music, or at least appreciating it as a genre. But I knew her best as an actress who sang and wrote songs, basically. But she'll definitely be an idol. She was an idol to me then, and she'll always be an idol to me because of just who she was as a person, not just in the industry, and not because she was a great singer and songwriter or a good actress, but because the person that she was, even well into her stardom, well after she achieved fame. She never rested on her laurels. She always tried to do better. She always tried to improve the lives of people where she could. She came from incredibly humble beginnings. She opened up the world for herself. She left her dad's farm on her own, went to Nashville on her own at 18, and made herself a star, basically. She was always living on her own terms. She was always dictating her own career, and all while never forgetting where she came from and who she was. And I don't know, for me, that's just incredibly iconic. Um, and up until, she died, she was trying to work. She was spreading joy. She was being philanthropic. She was doing everything she could to give back to people who gave her so much and creating happiness by doing things that she loved and doing things that she thought were the best ways to go about things. She thought were the best things to do for the troubles or the ills that she saw with humanity and the world. And her talent was extraordinary by all means and should not be, shorted by anything. But for me personally, it was definitely her heart, her generosity, her resilience, and her humanity that made her truly special. And she will always be an icon for me. She will always be a hero of mine. Uh, she's like a once in a lifetime, once in a generation kind of spirit. And you will definitely, definitely be sorely missed, Miss Dolly Parton. So I just wanted to take a moment for that, if you guys don't mind. When in doubt, I think uh, we can all look to Miss Dolly and probably take a note to learn how to be a little bit of a better person, myself included by far. If we had more Dollys in the world would definitely be a better place. I hope she rests in peace. I know she lost her husband in the last year or so, and I know they were very, very close, and I'm sure that hurt her deeply. So I just hope that she's resting and she's finding peace and she's still happy in whatever world, she lives in. And I hope that people can figure out who she is many generations from now, not just her music and stuff, but just who she was as a person, and the legacy she left behind is really strong, and one we should all aspire to, in my opinion. I don't know if you guys know who Dolly Parton is. You must know who she is. She sang that song 9 to 5, and she wrote and sang I Will Always Love You. She was the original recording artist of that. And she wrote it as well. She wrote many other songs as well. She's an incredible songwriter. Anyways, so I apologize if I'm a little bit solemn to start the show today, but I definitely need to take a minute to recognize her, Miss Dolly. Good evening let's have a palate cleanse and say hello to everybody that has joined us today, because life is better when you're there. Mr. Richard gets the gold star for today for being the first one. You were mad early though today, Richard. That was crazy. Oh, that reminds me, there is a poll out there. If you guys were thinking that maybe you want me to start a little bit earlier in the day, so we can have a little bit of a longer live stream. I don't know. I always feel like we're a little bit rushed and we could definitely be talking for longer. Let me know what y'all think about that. Definitely vote in the poll, and we'll see what the poll is at the end of the hour. I would just feel like an hour is not enough. But we'll figure it out. Manny is here. Thank you so much for being here, Manny. Manny says, enjoy the sunshine today as I was out earlier this afternoon, and it'll be raining from on tomorrow. Yeah, I know. It's going to be crazy this weekend. Diane is here. How are you, Diane? I hope you're in better spirits. Ewan is here. How are you? Thanks for being here. Roy Cousins is here. How are you, Roy? Thank you so much for being here. I hope everybody is doing well. Disco is here. Glad to have you. Ewan says, what makes the UK winter so depressing is it is dark for 16 hours a day. Yep. Manny says there's a partial lunar eclipse happening in the early hours on Friday, but will end before dawn. Oh, that won't be scary at all. Make sure you stay in Friday night. Thursday night into Friday, I guess. Yeah, there's loads of people early this evening. Happy to see it though. Yeah, so we're going to jump into ah, jump into these comments here. And we'll get back to some of your comments and everything in a minute. Okay. So there was a bunch of comments on our my recent video, which was basically exposing the biggest myth lie of America that I've learned living here. And there's a bunch of comments that I want to go over and read through and respond to in real time. And we will be doing that right now as soon as I can get it out. Blah, blah, blah. Okie dokie. Share it with you guys so y'all could see it. That's always the best way. Alrighty. So this section was primarily about the healthcare. No matter what, I almost always find a way to talk about the NHS or healthcare in general on all of my videos, but I think it's because it's so close to my heart. When you've lived so long with that stress of healthcare, I think it just when you live so long with the stress of trying to pay for healthcare outside of like a tax or like you guys do with your wages, it's really so appalling and eye-opening. We're back. Topic. You guys all bring it on to see what happens here. Let's see what I say. Says, I fell over on the way to school once, carved a chunk out of my knee. Oh, sounds like my color. It actually went a bit green. Ew. Gross. And I needed dressings and stuff. I still wear the scar, but that is the only sign of it. And if there is one difference in the two cultures, it is that, at least in healthcare for the time being. Nobody is chasing you down the road with a card reader or something when you get injured. To us, that feels like being a gazelle on the lookout for a lioness every time they trip you up. That is an amazing comparison, Alex Fletcher Art. A gazelle constantly on the lookout for lioness. That is a great way to explain it. I might use that in the future. I hope you don't copyright me. Yeah, no, that's a great analogy in the future, y'all. Like, think about it that way. Think about how the gazelle can barely take a bite or chew its food without looking around all the time to see if they're under threat. It's not, and the thing is, when it comes to healthcare, you only have so much control over your body, right? You only have so much control over like avoiding the holes, right? Avoiding falling off a ladder kind of stuff. And the rest is kind of up to chance and up to environment or circumstances. So you like that's why you have to be so vigilant about it. And it's only one of the stresses of living in the United States, but when you have kids or a partner, it is even harder, and you have that compounded by the amount of people in your family, and then you're it's just one of the biggest stresses. It's probably one of the top 3, if not the biggest stress that you have as living in the United States. It's terrible. It's really hard to convey to someone who hasn't experienced it, but I think that is a great way to explain it. The gazelle looking for the lioness. Kimberly Barrett says, I need to correct you on the NHS. Okay, by all means. Depending on your needs, where you live in the UK has a massive bearing on whether you can access certain services. We call it the postcode lottery. Now, okay, I'm not saying that you're incorrect in any way, because you would know better than me. I know of the postcode lottery. I know that there is care levels associated with the postcode lottery, but I didn't know that it was actually like services you wouldn't be able to access? Are you saying like if you have a heart attack, you might not be able to go to the hospital if you're in a certain location? If anyone has clarification on that comment from Kimberly Barrett, I appreciate your comment, Kimberly. Absolutely, I want a better understanding of as much as I can about living here in Britain, but I definitely need more clarification on that by far. If y'all have it, please put it in the chat for me, or in the comments below if you're watching this on the replay. And thank you for watching the replay, by the way, if you are. I am Fluttery Blue. Flutter by Blue. Flutter by Blue. I love it. Okay. Flutter by Blue says, say that 10 times fast. I have a feeling that I can't seem to shake as regards the NHS. I feel like feelings are facts, acknowledged, that the UK government is hoping to privatize healthcare. COVID was used to open the door, and the media put the proverbial foot in the door, and society is expected to be swayed in support. I do hope I'm wrong, but money talks, unfortunately. Yeah, I've kind of gotten that feeling as well, Flutterby. I've had lots of conversations with British people over the 20 years or so that I have been involved with a British person and their family and friends. I will say that most of the people I've spoken to, even the ones that are pretty conservative, do not support getting rid of the NHS, even though they acknowledge that it's severely broken. Even the ones that think it's severely broken don't think it should go away. I think what they want is like a more robust private care system so they have choices. That's the impression I'm getting from the conversations I've had in my private life. It is something I'm watching very closely as well, because I've lived under a private system. I know exactly how it works. It does not work. And if you look at some of the other privatized systems in the country here, in England at least, I'll speak about England because that's where I live, but y'all definitely tell me if you live in the other parts of the UK, or you're watching this from a different country outside of the UK. That anything that's privatized that I've noticed here in England, like water, the quality has gone downhill since it's been privatized. So that should be more than enough to tell you that it needs to be that way. I mean, look at housing, right? I mean, there still is council housing, but it's not as robust as it was 20 or 30 years ago. And if the government was able to get back up to that standard, then there'd be a lot different housing situation in the world, I say the UK, in England today. So I'm always against privatizing when it comes to basic necessities that you need to live. I am in favor, I'm a capitalist though. I mean, I'm in favor of private entities and private companies by far. I just think there's certain things that shouldn't be on the table, like healthcare, like water, like housing. I think there can be private sectors of those things, but I think there should be a public sector as well, because they keep the private sectors in check. And those are things you need to live. So, but I will be keeping my eye on it, that's for sure. And that's probably why I'm watching Reform so closely, because I know they're big proponents of that. What was the one that's even further right than Reform? I think off of that as Reform does. EA says public sector funding / government funding in the UK is considered socialism in the US. Yep, absolutely. I did a whole actually, which means they didn't get it. Anyway, yet so much publicly funded in the US. For example, police, fire, military. Just FYI, firefighters aren't always publicly funded, but these are taxpayer-funded public services that people take for granted. As a Brit, I just can't believe that healthcare is not seen as a basic human right. Why should people pay exorbitant health insurance premiums only to be denied payments when they actually get sick? And why should really ill people have to phone around to source their care or health free at the point of delivery? It's not your fault if you develop cancer or have a child with cystic fibrosis or any other child. You are correct. U.S. healthcare needs to catch up with the rest of the Western world in a lot of ways. Well, I appreciate the compliment and saying that I'm right. It's always nice to hear, especially on the internet, because lots of people love to tell me when I'm wrong. But I also appreciate what you're saying by far. Very obviously, you have a good handle on both systems. What you say is 100% true. The only thing is, just FYI, firefighters don't always have public funding. Sometimes they're volunteers. Literally, they have day jobs. But you are absolutely right about you pay an exorbitant amount of money in your premium, and then when you get sick and you reach your deductible and all of that, they can deny you and deny your actual treatment, or they can deny paying for the treatment. It's ridiculous, but that's what privatization is. That's why it's terrible. Marvink says $1,000 for a cut knee, even a bad cut. That sums up, quote, America pretty well, I think. If this is the sort of greed-based nonsense that goes on in the city on a hill, he says with a straight face, then I think I'll stay down here. Thanks very much. I have very little money myself, but one thing I can afford is to get sick, something that happens to quite a lot of people, apparently. Yeah, it happens to everybody at some point. I mean, thank you so much for your comment, by the way. Everybody gets sick. That's the craziest part about it. And that's why it should be universal. At some point, everyone is always going to need the NHS, right? And that's the whole point of it. Not only, I understand that it was initially implemented for like because of the post-war era and everything, but it's for people to be well enough to work and participate and contribute to society. And that's the whole point of it. And you are always going to need some kind of medical care, whether it is an immunization, whether it is antibiotics because you catch a virus, whether it's a long-term illness like cancer, or whether it's, you're in your older age and you're having mobility issues. Like, you're always going to need something from the doctors. And that's why the private healthcare is the way it is in the US, because they make so much money off of it and you're always going to need it. So what they do is create an even more dependent society so that they can make even more money. It's for profit, not people. I'm not sure who said that, but I think it was Nina Turner, so I'm going to credit her. Diane says, I saw that not long ago, too. It upset me. I think she was great. Thanks, Diane. We're talking about Dolly. Yeah. All right, we're going to read some more of your comments. I appreciate that, Diane. Yeah, I'm a little upset about it, to be honest. As you can see, I'm not quite myself tonight. I mean, I grew up with her. She was like a year younger than my dad. Like, she's been around in my life forever. I think my dad had a crush on her as well, so she was always in our life. But still, I wholeheartedly am very gutted. Joe M is here, who is a member. Thank you so much for being a member and joining us tonight, Joe. Make sure you hang on for the members only bonus episode later. Joe says, hello from Edmonton, Alberta. Going to the sleep study lab at the hospital here in Edmonton tonight. I was diagnosed with severe sleep apnea back in 2017. Oh my God. That is scary. Do you sleep with do you have the machine thing because I remember when we were watching the Red Bus Russ. Yeah, I said it right. When we were watching the Red Bus Russ reaction, we were watching his thing about how much weight he lost. He was saying he had sleep apnea, and he was saying it was just horrific. Like, he could literally die in his sleep. And I was scared the hell out of me when I was listening to his story. So I hope yours is not. Well, I mean, it says it's severe, but I hope you're okay. And whatever you're going in for tonight, I hope it goes well and it has positive effects on you long term. Hello, Marja. Thank you for being here. So happy when you're here. Ewan says this song is relevant to us all, Mike, and the mechanics in the living years. It is a shock. Diane says, didn't Dolly lose her husband not too long ago? Yeah, I think it's only been in the past year, a couple years. It's because she was part of the reason her health went downhill was because she was caring for him, and then he died, and I guess she couldn't catch up. But that's what we do for our loved ones, isn't it? And that happens often, doesn't it? Hello, virtual trucker. Thank you for being here. Glad to have you. Roy Cousins, who's also a member, says, thank you for being a member, Roy. Says Dolly Parton's Imagination Library promoted reading for kids. I know, that was one of the best things that she ever did, because she never had a lot of books, or she didn't. I know she said her dad. I apologize. Thousands and thousands and thousands in some of the red states of the United States because budget cuts. Can I say one more thing? I'm gonna have a little rant. This is not about Dolly Parton specifically, but we need to bring our freaking kids. Excuse me for the language. Stop hurting kids. Like, they're kids, okay? Whether you're dropping bombs on them, whether you're shooting them in their schools, whether you're abusing them, trafficking them, using them for child labor, marrying them off for profit, whatever the hell you're doing to the kids that's in a negative or abusive or exploitative way, freaking stop. They're children. They can't help what race they were born. They can't help what religion that they're raised under. They can't help what country that they were born into. They have no influence on politics. They have no power. And it does not make you any better or more powerful or any kind of decent person that you're going to pick on someone who has no power. Just stop. They're freaking children. Leave them alone. Worry about yourself. They're the future of our fucking race, for God's sake. They're the future of humanity. And for you to treat them like they're animals, or they're nothing, or they're less than because they're children, or you can use them to get your jollies or to save a couple bucks or whatever the hell you're using them for, your revenge or whatever, just stop. They're freaking kids. Okay? They're kids. Just stop. You should be helping them, protecting them, promoting things like the library. Stop cutting school lunches, funding for school lunches. Stop cutting funding for libraries so they can learn how to read. Jesus, they're kids. And stop using them as a friggin' shield for your nefarious shit underneath, okay? Stop saying this is for the kids when it has nothing to do with the kids. It has nothing to do with saving them or protecting them or anything like that. I'm just so tired. I'm sorry for the rant, you guys, but I'm just so tired of all of these freaking people who are in power, who are pretending that they're doing things for children, okay? You're not. You're doing it for yourself. At least admit it. At least have the guts to admit it and stop hiding behind children. Children don't know any better, and they're doing the best they can to survive the circumstances they're in, whatever they may be. Stop making it harder on them. We're supposed to make it easier. The next generations are supposed to have it better than us. It's so arrogant and so selfish. Okay, we're going to move on to something more positive. My apologies. It is the one thing that's the thorn in my side, though, is when people hurt children. I don't care what capacity it's in. I can't support anybody that ever thinks that either hurts children or thinks it's okay to hurt children in any way. I don't care what the reasoning is. I just don't. It's unacceptable to me. It's my hard line. I can't help it. Okay. Yeah, that's what I get for watching lots of reels and stuff before I go online. Let's share something. Speaking of the children, we're going to share something somewhat positive. All right. In case you didn't see my short, the child has been invited to go to Africa. to help build school and teach children actually to learn to speak English and math. So she's excels in both, even though she says she won't. Uh, she she downplays herself. Very British. But anyway, she needs to raise some money for it. So she's doing a fundraiser. Normally, I wouldn't ask you guys to give us money to help fund her excursions, but she is doing a fundraiser specifically to raise money for this trip. So she's doing a 20-kilometer walk, which I'm told is around like 13 miles around the Kennington Loop in Ashford. So she's doing it this Sunday, August 30th. It's supposed to rain, so that'll be interesting. She's basically going to do the entire loop. I've heard it takes 6 hours, and I've also heard it takes like 3 or 4 hours. So we'll see what happens. We will also be live to kind of just cheer her on. I was going to walk with her, but I can't, obviously, because of my injury. I couldn't do that long of a walk. And some of it's through like woods and stuff, so I wouldn't have a chance to stop and rest or anything. So the husband's going with her. So I'm gonna live stream and try to raise some money and stuff as well, and to cheer her on. She's gonna send me photo ops at all of the checkpoints to let us know that she's actually doing it and everything. And so she is raising money. So if you can, if you have the means, of course. Even just £5, that would be great if you can contribute. HicksonDiaries.com/Africa. I will keep code here in a moment as soon as I can. There we go. Move the banner. There we go. You can scan the QR code to make a donation right now if you want. I'll leave that on the screen for a minute. Of course, I'll leave a link in the description box on the replay. If you guys are watching this on the replay, you don't have your phones available, all that kind of stuff. Or if you just want to go to HicksonDiaries.com/Africa to check it out, we appreciate it. Again, this is purely fundraiser for the child for this trip. We're affiliated because she's my kid. But if you can't, we understand. But we wanted to just try to raise as much money for her as we can. And yeah, thank you. And if you could also just spread it around as well, we appreciate that as well. All right. I needed that palette cleanse. After that rant, it was a little bit long, wasn't it? Okay. We are going to move on now to more of your comments. Let's check in with you guys first. As what I was doing. Alan Burton, thanks so much for being here, Alan. Very sad news of rest in peace, Dolly Parton. That's right. I agree 100%. Disco, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Oh, what else is going on? Had this amazing business mind. Didn't miss a trick. Marja says you are so. So I'm saying she was iconic through so many different like levels. Disco, thank you for gifting a membership. You're awesome. Appreciate it. Whoever gets that gift, I hope you enjoy the members only footage that we're going to do later on. We're going to talk about iconic British postings about, basically showing how you guys are really funny. Okay. Manny says the advantage of a lunar eclipse is that you do not need to go out and buy those eclipse views because it's perfectly safe to watch a lunar eclipse with the naked eye. Fair. Good point. Chub 6109. Hello. Thank you for being here. Rest in peace, Dolly Parton. Yes, I agree. Thank you. I appreciate you being here. Richard says Misty has a 2-part interview with an American A&E nurse. Yes. She does. I haven't gotten a chance to I did see that she had those out there. Interesting, eye-opening for a lot of people who have never experienced the U.S. system. F11 says evening. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, Marcia, it is buffering a little bit. I think it might be my internet. It's like it's only for a couple seconds, but it's done it a couple times. I do apologize. Some places have more advanced hospitals than others. Okay, that's fair. It depends on if you are white middle class or not. I don't think that's 100% accurate, Ewan, only because I've seen a few documentaries and series on people that are really poor in Britain and don't go to the doctor and have lots of health issues, and they're some of them are white. So I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think it's not as black and white as that. I'm sure there's issues as far as poverty levels that I can definitely agree with. I would assume anyway. Richard says, I am lucky to have very good hospitals around me. My wife got the European Center for Brain Disease in Oxford. Wow. That is good. You are lucky. Hello, Sam K. Glad to have you. Yeah, everyone needs to check their notifications. YouTube has made 1,000 changes in the last few months, and we all need to just double check that we're subscribed, we're members. Excuse me, we have all of our notifications on and everything. Excuse me, because they're messing with everything. Joanne says, here in Canada, we've had taxpayer-funded universal healthcare in all provinces. By 1971, healthcare delivery is a matter of provincial jurisdiction in Canada. Must be nice. Oh, you don't have to be sorry. I get it. YouTube, like I said, YouTube's making a bunch of different lots of changes. It's so hard to keep up. Richard says the people that taught Americans to hate socialism love segregation. They just loved profit. They loved segregation, yeah, probably in the form of poor people and rich people. Class segregation by far, yeah, probably. Diane says the NHS has its problems, but it's still something amazing and needs preserving, in my opinion. I agree, and I think part of the problems, from my limited experience and research, is that they seemed to have cut a lot of funding, and it's wreaked havoc. I'm really sorry, Manny, that the stream is buffering so much. I don't know what to do about that. I'm really sorry. If you have an idea of something I could check, I'll be happy to check on it. Ditto, love and lots of love for the NHS, you guys. We know I know you all love it, and as I do. Sam K says a lot of people are going kicked due to YouTube issues. Yeah, I had to look into some. I mean, I know you mentioned a few different places before, Sam, that I could, put my content on and stuff. I've been researching stuff behind the scenes. Please, speaking of that, if you all like what we're doing and you want to make sure you stay in touch with us, if something happens to the YouTube channel specifically, please sign up for the email list newsletter. There's a link in the description as well. So you get there's a way for me to contact you if nothing else. It's absolutely free. You don't have to do anything else but sign up for your email. And you can go to hicksondiaries.com to do that. You can do it. Like I said, there's a link in the description box on this replay. Just please, just in case something happens, we have like over 23,000 subscribers now, which I never thought in a million years I would even get 20. And I just don't want to lose touch with all of you. So if you could just sign up with that email list, the only thing I send out is emails is if I think I sent an email out about this Africa thing when it came up, and then my weekly blog. Otherwise, I don't email you anything because I hate spam. But it's just a way for us to keep in touch in case something happens until I can figure out something else. But yeah, thanks for the reminder, Sam. And I appreciate you looking out. Autocorrect gives me a headache. Yep. Mick MacArthur, who is also a member, says, well, I haven't seen a doctor since March 23. If I need anything, I go to Boots Pharmacy and they usually have what I need. Yeah. I don't know what to do about the stream, y'all. I'm really sorry. You should send me to Gambia with the child. Ouch. Oh, you're getting a new machine. I see. All right, that's fair. You had some good times in Africa, Richard? Oh, that's good. That's okay, Diana. I appreciate it. Your daughter will ace it on Sunday. Good on her, and I hope she raises a lot of money. Yeah, I think what's going to slow her down is the husband's going to be with her. But he's, he's volunteered. He doesn't want her to do it alone. She was willing to do it alone, but she doesn't want him to. He doesn't want her to. Thank you, Manny. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for the super chat, Manny. Nicola is here. Hello, Nicola. Glad to have you. All right, let's get in to one more of your comments here. Is this the one? Yeah. Okay. So this is basically about the illusion of choice stuff that we talked about in this video about the lies and myths of the US. Let's hear what y'all have to say about that one. So Jonathan Weatherwell says, to me, differences boil down to one. In Europe, we know we are part of a society gaining from the group in return for some personal freedoms. In the US of A, celebrated the individual. Yep, that's pretty much how it works. Me, my rights, my freedom, these trump the same rights and freedoms of everyone else. So individual power triumphs, and the biggest power is money. Pretty much hit the nail on the head. I don't have much to add to that, Jonathan. Appreciate your comment. Tat Cub says those sort of choices are similar to giving seals a fish for performing for the audience, or U.S. government in this case. Let's blind them with 100 types of cereal instead. Fair. Phil Freeman says those 100 cereal choices are made in 12 factories by 3 gigantic corporations. There is no real choice. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that actually mentioning the Tudor Gang, because you guys mentioned her before, shout out, she's awesome. She did a whole video on that actually, I think, and it was either her or Girl Gone Line, and also shout out because she's awesome. One of them, they did a whole bunch of, they talked about the aisles and the grocery stores and stuff. It is crazy. But it gives us the illusion of choice, so we don't actually start digging or anything. Terry O'Malley says, as a Canadian living 1 block away from the Ontario-Michigan border, I can confirm your point about the U.S. offering the illusion of freedom by substituting consumerism and the choice of varying degrees of the same junk for true substantive freedom about things that really count. Thank you very much for validating me. I feel seen. It's sometimes hard. It's always good to know that someone out there sees it the way I see it, or sees the things I see. I do sometimes feel like I'm swimming solo in these British waters, so it is nice. Thank you for your comment. David Hines says, real choice requires agency. Wow. Well said. That is probably the sole reason why a lot of people can't handle freedom, because a lot of people, unfortunately, are sheep. Let's be fair. Anyway, David goes on to say the actual ability to make choices where you feel too scared to leave a bad job with poor wages, where the culture makes you overwork and calls you lazy for needing rest, and you dare not leave if you're left with no health care effectively. That's not freedom. Agree. You don't have any significant choices, just which deck chairs to move on the sinking ship or which window to look out on the train that is out of your control. Yup. I can't I mean, all of those were right on point. I don't really have much more to add. I don't know if you all do. F11 says, if you need a warm cup on the walk, drop me a line. Happy to drop you one. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do this live thing. I have to plan it out a little bit better. I have to have some conversations with them for Sunday. But yeah. Oh, the reminder, all the members, don't forget, we have the members only bonus live stream that is going to be on location in Canterbury per your request on Thursday at noon-ish, because we got to just I say ish because we have to make sure that we have, like, I'm set up in the right spot and I'm not like bothering people in the middle of Canterbury or anything like that. Bank holiday Monday. That's right. Let's make sure we all don't go to work that day. But it's not in Scotland. I think you have one coming up though, right? In a week or so, Mick? I think you do. Of course it's been like hot and dry all summer, and the last bank holiday of the summer is gonna rain. Manny says Trump admin truly crashed the Cosmo trade deal by being bullies to Canada. Power to Prime Minister Carney for summoning his team back to Ottawa, thus meaning a trade deal collapse. I know it's gonna be. I don't want to be a complete doomsdayer again. All I've done is talk about bad stuff today. But yeah, the U.S. economy is tanking. You guys, it is tanking badly. So prepare yourselves. I don't know how it's going to affect the world economy because a lot of people, countries are seeing it and making plans, but I'm just saying, be careful. All right, be prepared, save up, that kind of stuff. Just don't rely on anything in the US at the moment. It's too volatile. You have extra days off next year for Scotland, do you? In Glasgow, we have a local holiday the last full week of September. There you go. There you go. All right, so let's see the poll. So the poll was, should we do a longer public live stream? And 5% said do a second one instead, which I actually didn't think anyone was going to vote for that. So that's interesting. 18% of you said no, and 77% of you said yes. Okay. Because we have the members only thing in the right after this public live stream, I'm going to have to think about it. We'll probably have to start it earlier, which I'm all for. I don't mind because I'm usually like between 7 and 8. I'm usually prepping and, working things out or whatever. I guess I just won't see my husband that day. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to emotionally blackmail you guys. That came out that way, though. Oh, anyways. Yeah. All right. What is I'm getting a notification and it's kind of weird. All right, let's read a few more of your comments. Yeah, I'm so sorry about my rant and stuff earlier. I feel bad now. My rant about the kids, it's just on my mind. I got Dolly on my mind. I'm like Elvis, you were always on my mind. I love that song. You guys know that song? I love that song. Do you know that I walked down the aisle to an Elvis song? I wonder if y'all can guess it. Can you guess it? Just curious. I'm just filling time. I just want to I want to read more of your comments, but I don't think we'll have any time. Oh, we have a little bit of time. Let's see if we can get through this last little bit. The last little bit was about like the company store versus labor rights. So let me get this up for y'all. All right. Patricia Millen is going to be our first commenter, and she says, I'm shocked you don't always get employment contracts in the US. Nope. It's very, very, very rare, actually. I started working at an early age in lower paying jobs and worked my way up. For every job I had, no matter how low, I always had a contract. If my job changed within a company, I would get a supplementary contract to reflect my new position. I thought this would be standard procedure everywhere, including the US. It's not. It should be, but it's not. Kevin the Caravanner says the UK law requires every employer to provide employees with a written statement on the main terms of their employment on or before their first working day. Employers must also supply a full written contract. UK law gives employees rights that employers cannot reduce, or even the reduced rights are written into the contract. Yeah, we don't have I mean, I worked here for a little while. In an unconventional setting. And yeah, I always had a contract from day one. And I had all of my days off and everything guaranteed from day one. That was a huge shock for me. DJ Wall says, in 1999, I worked for a British subsidiary of an American company. In December, the following conversation was had. Oh, God. American bosses, we need you in at midnight on the 31st to check for Y2K issues. British workers, we've already made plans for that night. You should have asked earlier. American bosses, we're not asking. If you're not in at midnight on the 31st, don't bother coming in ever again. Guys, I totally believe this story. He's not making this up, I promise you. British workers, so you're going to sack us for a single instance of refusing to work outside of our contracted hours and on a public holiday. You might be able to do that in the US, but it won't fly here. See you at the Industrial Tribunal. American bosses. Never mind. Good for y'all. Good for y'all. Like standing up for yourself like that, because American workers don't do that. I remember having conversations with my British partner in America where I would come home being super frustrated and wanting to say, hey, this is going on, or, I'm wanting to do something. And he would say, just tell them. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. You can't just tell your boss to go F themselves. Like, because you could get fired. Literally, they can fire you by the end of the conversation. And they don't need a reason. They can fire you for anything. They make up reasons. There are people getting fired in mass right now in the United States. There are people getting fired by huge companies, like Fortune 500 companies, making tons and tons of profit, that are firing people in mass via email or Teams call. Like, that's how bad it is in the US. It is ridiculous. They've just rolled back all of the labor laws and almost all of the unions. Peter F here says, a minor point, but I am amazed that often in the United States, if you are off sick or need to take leave, it is your responsibility to find your replacement. It is. I remember I worked in a place where I actually did push back on that. It's towards the end of my career in the United States. And I said, this is ridiculous. They wanted us on 24-hour call shifts once a month or something like that. And then they made us find our own cover every time that we were off sick or anything. And I remember saying, this is all crap. And they were saying, every company I worked for does it this way. And I'm like, well, every company I worked for didn't do this way, and this is not right. I couldn't mobilize enough people to unionize or anything, which was really sad. What is the saddest part about this stuff? And thank you all for all of your comments on that entire video. It was quite popular, and you guys had a lot to say. I think the biggest thing that my biggest takeaway is that people get so used to things, right? Like it's amazing what human beings will adapt to if they've just done it long enough, or it's been repeated to them often enough. It's so sad, really, when you think about it, because it could be so much better if people mobilized and people just came together. Anyways. And, I a lot of people leave comments, a lot of British people leave comments saying things like, these are rights that we've worked for and fought for generations, and they're not going to go anywhere, blah, blah, blah. And that's fantastic. You're absolutely right. They shouldn't. But what's more amazing is that even in today's age, there is the group of people that are pushing back on that is so small and is immediately quelled. Whereas in America, it runs the roost, man. It's just that is just crazy. That's just crazy to me. Okay, let's get back to some of your comments. Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, Joe, I do wish you all the best tonight, and hope that everything goes well and everything works out positively for you. No, I did not walk down the aisle to all shook up. Richard. Manny says, excuse me, sorry. Manny says, where I lost my place. Trump is tanking the U.S. economy by being a one-man wrecking ball. If he sends the U.S. economy crashing, it should be grounds for his impeachment and removal. Number one, he's been impeached like 3 times already. Not going to happen. If he gets impeached again, he's definitely not going to get removed. Possibly if the midterm elections go in the Democrats' way, maybe, but I doubt it, to be honest with you. But in all fairness, yeah, he's wrecking it. He is wrecking the economy, but it has been set up for failure for a really long time as well, because the corporate entities and the big business and all of that and all of the lobbies have just had their hands in the average citizen and resident's pocket for so long. It's just a mess. We are like trillions with a T, and then it starts with a T, ends with an S. Trillions of dollars in debt, the United States of America, and we pay like $1 trillion a year just to service our debt. That's how bad it is, and that's just the national economies. Imagine what it's like on the local levels. Mick MacArthur says workers united will never be defeated. You're absolutely right, and more people need to acknowledge that by far. I'm going to put that up there to remind everybody. Richard says even casinos, which are generally make money hand over fist. Yeah, a lot of the casinos I've heard, the only money they're making are from like high rollers. Which, eventually they're going to start hoarding their money too, because people who have a lot of money tend to be the people who hoard their money the most. Roy Cousins says, I spent most of my working life with the UK arm of a large American company. Fortunately, it was all under UK working laws. That is fortunate. I know someone in my family actually who was like a middle management for a British company, and the American company bought them out. And they came in and tried to do a whole bunch of changes to like make it work more efficiently, basically the American way. And she was like, it's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to be able to do that. And they were like, no. It'll work. Don't worry. It'll work. We have it proven it'll work. And they were like, all right, fine. We'll just have to see how this goes. And it didn't work. And they were like, told you so. Jailhouse Rock? No, it wasn't Jailhouse Rock. Can't Help Falling in Love with You? It was not that one either. Had a glass of water. Well, yeah. It wasn't that. Oh, you guys aren't going to get it. You're not going to get it. Shall I tell you? I'll wait for the members only episode. It's coming up next in just a few minutes. If you're not a member, make sure that you click that join button to become a member. And for those of you who are members, I'll see you on the flip side. For those of you who aren't, I'll see you I'll see you on Sunday, hopefully, right? All right. Bye, y'all. Thank you.